just to give you the warning.
Yep. Good morning.
Setting up. I'll just do probably I'll just get everybody started at intros and make it easier for me to post links while we all do that.
Okay.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the latest episode of Paranormal Encyclopedia. As always, I'm your host, Kevin Mears, the demonologist and Paranormal Encyclopedia. As you can see, we have some guests tonight, at least one, aside from Brian, of course, one familiar face. But Brian, why don't you introduce yourself while I get links going, and then you guys can go around while I get everything ready. And by the time you're done, I should be ready.
Sure. I'm, of course, Brian McKinley, author of Vampire Thrillers and Kevin's erstwhile co-host. Go ahead. I guess we'll start with Mike and just go across the board.
All right. My name is Mike Oresczyn. I'm owner of Cryptid Crate, a subscription box for cryptid and paranormal fun stuff, shirts, cups, books, everything.
Oh, I didn't know you were the owner. We've had at least one or two of your guests, the writers involved before.
Oh yeah. You probably have dealings with the artists that do the shirts and stuff like that. You've probably dealt with at least some of Danielle's authors, if not probably some of the other authors.
Oh yeah, John French and Patrick Thomas in particular are old friends of the show.
Yeah.
And okay, Jason, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm Jason Whitley. I'm an illustrator. Been illustrating the Systema Paradoxica book series. The eSpec and Danielle are publishing for Cryptid Crate.
And I guess that's the segue for me. I am Danielle Ackley-MacPhail, the editor of the series and the publisher. And eSpec has been a publisher for 10 years, and Systema Paradoxica has been around for 5.
Okay, and I just put the link into the chat for Zoom if anybody wants to share it. We are now live and posted on all of my Facebook. So, folks, we're going to be talking about cryptids and the upcoming Compendium of Cryptids, which is a subject we've covered a couple of times recently, but I'm good with that because cryptids are fun.
These guys probably know more than we did.
Also, almost certainly true. So, what was the inspiration? Why don't you talk? I know from past discussions, but why don't you talk a little bit about the inspiration for creating this book?
Well, it's to start at the beginning. During the lockdown, Cryptid Crate approached us to see if we had any cryptid fiction that they could include in their boxes. This is always a dangerous question to ask me because the answer is generally no, but we could. So I came up with a proposal. Given the origins of cryptozoology with Carl Linnaeus and Systema Naturale and Animalia Paradoxa, I wanted to, lean into those references. And because of the long history of cryptozoology, I had the idea of making it look like an old style encyclopedia set. So I looked at old references and pulled some of the elements that I liked the most, like the quote that we have at the top of each title page and stuff like that, that as best as I can, because it's not easy to find quotes about cryptids, kind of dovetails with whatever the book is about. So, and by doing the encyclopedia approach, in the back of each book was an encyclopedia entry about that cryptid with an old-fashioned style illustration capturing that feel of that old-time encyclopedia. And because Jason is a perfectionist and really fantastic artist, even though it was a black and white book, he gave us 3 versions, one that is just a line art that we use for our cover treatment, a shaded version that goes in the book in black and white, and then a full color version, and they are just gorgeous. And so gorgeous that I actually have one of my own original artwork from the first book. My absolute favorite illustration that he's done just gripped me. But so we always, from the beginning, hoped to be able to do something like the Cryptid Compendium, because I just knew we had to feature that color artwork somewhere where the world could appreciate it.
And since you were the original mind behind it, Mike, what inspired you to do the Cryptid Crate?
Well, actually, I'm not the original. Derek Hayes of the Monsters Among Us podcast actually started Cryptid Crate. But he's doing it out of his apartment with his wife and stuff, and it kind of grew a little too much, and he, it wasn't fun for him anymore. So he was actually looking for a fulfillment house to actually do all the work for him. And in talking to him about doing that for him, we ended up just buying it from him. And that was like 5 years ago, I want to say.
At least.
Yeah. And so, so we kind of took it over because we had a couple other products that we were doing that are similar, subscription-based products. So we already had the system in place. So we only needed to basically, learn his methods for curating what goes in the box. And of course, it evolved since then. It's always evolving. What goes into it. Then when we got Danielle involved, we ended up doing that as a quarterly special crate where everything inside it is exclusive. A lot of times our stuff is exclusive that's going in there because we're hiring an artist and doing it. But that specific crate is the book from Danielle, a coin based on the same creature that is featured in the book, and a shirt, of course, and a statue or figure. Right now, they're tiki style figures that are stackable, but they started off as regular kind of figurines, and who knows what's going to happen. But we'll always have a bunch of stuff in there geared towards the same creature, and everything being exclusive. So it's a fun quarter.
Fantastic. And okay, wait, everyone still there? I don't have any sound at the moment.
I'm still here.
Yeah,
Okay.
Still here.
Yeah. We have a long history of various problems, so I get paranoid. But it's live stream. You always have problems. Jason, how about yourself? What drew you as an illustrator, to drawing cryptids?
Gosh, well, I started. I guess it's book illustrations. I just love doing book illustrations and kind of the old style stuff. I was always inspired by, just growing up, creepy, eerie magazines, and then even the pulp artists and reading the stories too. Like I love the short stories. So I worked with James Chambers on a book and that's through Jim. I met Danielle. So we kind of, from Jim's introduction, Danielle asked me to illustrate a few books. So here and there I did illustrate some books, and then the Cryptid Crate came up with Systema Paradoxica. So it's always been fun. And, I'm in North Carolina, I'm in the woods. You might see a Sasquatch behind me. There's a friend of mine that thinks he did see a Bigfoot. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. Just right around Hendersonville, Asheville area. Yeah, I mean, his story is not super exciting. He was on a job site on the highway, and he saw something go across the interstate. And he says it wasn't a deer on his back legs. But yeah, that's what's his Roger. He's a carpenter, so
I've seen a lot of deer. They don't usually go on their back legs.
Yeah, that's a scientific explanation for Bigfoots that I've heard before. So
It's a new one on me. Usually it's a bear with a case of mange.
yeah, that
Is what
sounds better.
we're talking about. Just like Chupacabra is supposed to be a coyote. With every Chupacabra they ever found turned out to be a coyote with mange, as I understand it.
Yeah, I saw something like that in South Carolina near Santee Cooper Lake for sure. It was at least a dog with mange, if not a chupacabra. So,
I I have seen ghosts, I've seen demons, I've seen fae. I've never seen a proper cryptid. I always felt a little left out.
So what's
Yeah.
everybody's favorite cryptid? Just as a
What was
quick
it?
insert.
What, Brian?
Problem.
What's
I
your
asked
favorite?
everybody what's their favorite cryptid.
Oh yeah, I was about to ask that myself.
It's really hard for me to answer that because I've been dealing with all these for so long, and each one's fascinating to me. My personal one that I wrote about is the Shadow People, which was a lot of fun because it's the oldest known cryptid in existence, meaning way back through all of recorded history, every culture has had some version of a shadow person. And the explanations of what they are vary, but I found a way to justify all of them at once.
Nice.
See, I've seen shadow people. To me, when you say cryptid, you're talking about an animal. You're talking about a physical thing, which I would not classify shadow people as, at least not anything I've experienced.
Well, I guess it depends on your experience.
Yeah.
And it depends on what their origin actually is. Depending on the theory, they're very much a physical thing.
Maybe
Yeah,
I've spent too long in the paranormal community. I've never heard theories of them other than it's some type of spirit.
Well, transdimensional beings, alien beings, um,
Point.
angels, demons.
Both of which would be angels and demons are squarely spiritual.
Yeah.
And I would argue extra dimensional basically are as well. Aliens, yeah, okay, that would probably be physical, but that's a whole other thing.
Hey, it's on the cryptid wiki. I'm allowed to use it.
No, you're right. Come on, you know me. Anything's fair game here. For that matter, some lists will include flat out demons and fairies and angels as cryptid beings.
I really like the local angle because there's the lizard man in South Carolina. There's Sasquatch, Bigfoot, or I guess Bigfoot around here. The sewer monster, the sewer blob that was around Raleigh, North Carolina. So I think everybody has that kind of a local connection to their local cryptids.
This is true.
Yeah. So those are the most fun for me. And then the ones that I learn about from like folklore, the Alaskan, it starts with a Q.
I don't even want to try and pronounce them. Not in the least. We have
sort of
one
mermaid
author
witch
who likes to work with Native American cryptids, and he always picks the ones with native names, which are near impossible to pronounce.
Oh, I'm familiar with a few of them. Yeah, like Tongue Twister, Other Tongue Twister. That's their names. How about you, Mike? Do you have a favorite?
I fluctuate. I mean, as a kid growing up, I always liked the Loch Ness monster and the other lake monsters. And now it's like almost every month, I'm introduced to some things I've never even heard of, and you're just like, oh, that's really cool. And then, but right now, I think my favorite is the squonk because it's such a sad story. I mean, it's a creature. In case you're not familiar with it, it's a creature that supposedly is so ugly that it goes off into the woods and cries itself to death.
Oh,
and it's like how can that not? I mean, it's like how do you deal with that? I mean, there's some sort of level of empathy you got to feel for something that is so pitiful. And it's funny because it seems to have a big following. There's a Squonkapalooza. Our curator Lisa is actually runs the Squonkapalooza in PA,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, an entire festival devoted to this poor creature that just cries. You know?
I've heard of that one.
I had not, and I grew up in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Delaware. I'm like 15 minutes from PA, and it's like I never heard of this thing until Cryptid Crate, and then yeah, it's a very popular one. We've featured it a couple of times, both for the regular crate and for the junior. You know, and we have when I go to conventions, and you know, the squonk stuff tends to go fast. Pins, stickers, it doesn't matter. It's yeah, it's like, oh, is that the squonk? And even people have never heard of it. When I tell them this poor creature, you know, and they will like, you know, be interested in it. Oh, do you have any books on it? Do you have any pins? I want a sticker. You know, it's like, yeah, it's very popular, and even in the non-cryptid communities, like we did the Pride Festival last year for the first time, and all of them just fell in love with the squonk. Everybody that came up to the table fell in love with the squonk.
So is that my next assignment?
No. We've got actually more squonks coming. So if people are interested, little spoiler, it will be coming.
Nice. I'd probably go with the Jersey Devil if I had to pick one.
Yeah. Again, growing up here, the Jersey Devil was always a campfire story.
I learned about that one in school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the few I know something about. That's probably why I'm picking it, because the others, it's like I know bits and pieces, but nothing significant.
Yeah.
I mean, growing up, I was always a fan of the Bigfoot and Nessie.
The classics.
I have to say, I think if I had to pick favorites, Snarlygaster,
Yeah.
which I only know because of the When the Moon Shines book
Yeah.
from the series. But it's like, it's Cthulhu, the cryptid. How can you not love it?
Exactly. That's the one that I have the artwork for.
And then also a fan because I grew up in Pennsylvania. I heard, pretty sure I heard the story told as if true at least once, hoop snakes.
I don't think I know that one.
So there is a common legend in rural Pennsylvania. I grew up in the New Hope area. That's where I would have heard it, of what's called a hoop snake. It is a highly venomous, aggressive snake that if you run away from it, will bite its own tail like the Ouroboros and then turn on its side and roll down the hill after you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I have heard that one. Yes.
You
And
sure
when it
that one's
catches
not
you,
real?
it'll be
I
so
think
dizzy it won't be able to do anything.
But it's definitely dangerous because it has a stinger in the tail as well as being a venomous bite.
Yeah, but they're both joined together. It can't do anything.
Yeah, but it lets go.
It's the
Doesn't take much to
most
not unbite
impractical
something.
monster ever.
The inherent absurdity is part of why I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of them that are just so bizarre and nonsensical. There's one in one of the Eastbeck books. I'm reading it and I'm like, how is this thing even a cryptid? Supposedly it can shape change, turn invisible, and nobody's ever seen it.
The wonk.
But yet, what's that?
The wonk.
The wonk. That's right. That's what it was. And it's like, so how do we know it exists? How do we know it's a cryptid if no one's ever seen it? It can shape change and turn invisible. It's like, how did we see it? I mean, how did it become a story if that's true?
Brian, do you want to tell Mike or should I about the wonk hiding behind him right now? I couldn't resist.
Yeah, I mean, there is a critter on the shelf over there, but Lisa, the one I was mentioning, our curator, also has her own business, Cryptid Comforts, where she makes plushies of cryptids, and she makes them for our junior crates.
Oh,
so
cute.
so I always have some leftovers lying around here. But
So which one is that?
oh, to be honest, I don't remember this one's name. Um, it was one of those, I mean, obviously it looks like an alligator. There's one of them that looks like a two-headed turtle, and you're just sort of like, there are two-headed turtles. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not quite sure that qualifies as a cryptid, but
Yeah.
Well, there's so many. There are a lot of them that are like that. Just like technically the sewer alligators in New York could be
yeah,
considered cryptids, even
yep.
though no people a few people at least one point did release pet alligators that got too big into the sewers.
Well, it's the same thing. There's a cryptid called the ABC, Alien Black Cat. And all that means is it's like a panther that doesn't belong in,
In
upstate
that
New
area.
York.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's like, and they consider that a cryptid because, does it exist? Does it not exist? That kind of stuff. And it's like, so somebody let loose their, illegal pet panther or something, it's not not that mysterious, but,
Well, that's a whole subcategory, the phantom animals. People like, you see a panther in New York, you see a lion or a tiger in the middle of Detroit, and it's like, wait, how did this animal get here?
I'm telling you, I'm not hanging around to find out.
Isn't
Well,
there
yeah,
some
yeah,
kind
you
of
go home
dog
and then
in like
speculate.
England?
Check the news for a zoo missing an animal.
Well, that's the thing, is they usually assume it's a private collector or zoo or a traveling circus when those were more common and still had animals. And there's never any record of one missing when these happen.
Yeah.
Brian just pointed out an excellent point, which is black dog or black shuck,
Yeah.
which are the dogs people see all over Britain and a good chunk of Europe, actually. Which again, I'm sorry.
No, there's like 20 different names for them. Every place seems to have their own regional variation of the dog of death.
Mine's out here with me, and its name's Beetle. Beetle. She's very sweet though.
Fair enough. But yeah, the black dog phenomenon is interesting and probably something we should do a show about in its own right at some point. There's another one that falls between the lines of physical and spirit. Then again,
so is Barghest is one of those, or
yeah,
yes, Barghest is another one of those dog examples. Like Danielle said, there's tons of them. And something I wouldn't mind going looking for out in like the moors if I ever get over to England and go ghost hunting. Because it's like, why not? I
I'm not ready to find that one either.
There's that. So I guess that's a question. Aside from the story of your friend seeing Bigfoot, have any of you ever experienced a cryptid?
I saw what I believe is a loop guru.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to hear this story.
Could be the one with mange, but it's kind of funny because Jonathan Mayberry on social media had like put out a call. Has anybody seen this? And after he said it, we were driving past a field and there were like geese and stuff out there. And there was something going after them, and the shape was not proper dog shape. The head was, but like the tail didn't look right, and the way it moved didn't look right. And I was driving, so I didn't get to check or take a picture or anything, but I definitely saw that.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't loup garou basically the French word for werewolf?
It's similar to the werewolf, but it's not necessarily guided by the moon. It's a curse. And there are, it's either a loup garou or a rougarou. There are a couple different names for that one as well.
I'm actually wearing the rougarou shirt we made.
And some say that you're cursed. Those that don't observe Lent are cursed, and are a rougarou or a loup-garou for like 101 days, and if they bite someone, the curse passes on, and there's a lot of supernatural aspects to it, to the legends, but
For the record, that is, well, it's one part, but that is traditional werewolf folklore. The moon connection didn't come about till Hollywood.
yeah, a lot of that happens. I was doing research for a vampire book, and so many of what we think of for vampires, no reflection, not going out in the sunlight, all of that. There's
Hollywood.
only one legend where vampires can't go out in the sunlight.
Yeah.
And the diversity, some of them are just out and out bizarre. And a lot of them, you kill them by piercing them in the navel with like a rowan branch or another wood that is supposed to have, supernatural properties or, protective properties.
Yep. Or the always traditional just set it on fire. Which is a traditional solution to lots of supernatural creatures, particularly in the Middle Ages.
Yeah, our talk with Jonathan Mayberry, we went into a bunch of different of the vampire folklores. That's my area of interest as well.
One of my favorite ones is where they dress in high heels and terrorize the town at night. I can't even remember which culture it came from. This research, I did it like 10 years ago, but it was legitimately one of the vampire legends.
There's some weird ones.
Penalligans are still my favorite. The women whose heads fly off at night and drag their entrails behind them.
Yeah, to me, that's one of the sillier vampire.
I know, that's why I like it so much.
Yeah. There's also one that's turns into a dog with a lame leg called a dip. Which is just strange, like just weird, bizarre folklore. Some of them.
See, there's the interesting thing from my perspective is, one, I'll get into a theory of exorcist friend of mine had about cryptids in a second. But the other thing is that both in folklore and in practical experience, when demons physically appear, when you can actually see them, they often look like animals. But there's always something wrong about it.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it has lame leg, or it's burned and the skin's all missing.
The feet are backwards.
The feet are back, yes. Or with werewolves, their face is still human when they have the body of a wolf. In one memorable instance I had with an imp spirit, it looked like a mangy cat and then went hopping away like a rabbit. Except a particularly unnatural thing is every animals I know of have to flex their legs as they jump. This just went boing, 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 boing with its legs straight out. And then it was gone. But otherwise, if it hadn't done that and literally vanished into thin air, I would have just thought it was a cat, a sick cat. And again, it's an example, I think, of overlap.
Yeah,
because there are cryptozoologists that would classify vampires and werewolves as cryptids.
Mm-hmm.
And then, actually, for the other end of the spectrum, my exorcist friend was of the opinion that just like in medieval folklore, there were people that were the children of demons, like Merlin being the most famous example. Well, he thought sometimes the demons got busy with animals that might explain some cryptids. How serious he was, it's hard to know because Father Joe had a good sense of humor. But it's like, I don't know.
A lot of them do tend to take on very bizarre and surreal storylines. when
Oh, yeah.
people are conveying their experiences. And so that kind of muddies the water between the things that are mythology and lore and legend based and the things that are just creatures that we haven't seen, but someone has told us about. I mean, there's at least 5 different creatures that used to be cryptids that have been proven to exist. The gorilla is one of them, the coelacanth, the giant squid. You know, there are things out there that, you know, I actually want somebody to write one of the cryptid Systema Paradoxa books about a former cryptid.
Well, you missed my favorite of the cryptids that turned out to be well, 2 of my favorite cryptids that turned out to be real. The first is when the first reports came out of Africa of these huge, hairy, bipedal figures with very human-like, intelligent eyes. People thought it was made up. It sounded, if you read the accounts, it sounds like Bigfoot. No, they're describing mountain gorillas, but it sounds very much like Bigfoot. And the other one, the very first British zoologist to be handed the body of a platypus was absolutely convinced it was a hoax. Thought it was a Fiji mermaid type thing where they say, okay, I can't see where they sewed it together, but this thing can't be real, so it's obviously a hoax somebody made.
Well, it didn't help. Those medieval illustrations of animals did not help at all.
Oh no!
If that's what you're going by as a reference material for what an animal looks like. Every one of those things look like a cryptid.
Yeah.
I would say, though, the platypus certainly gives hope for all the other cryptids out there.
Yes. There's a lot less strange cryptids than the real platypus.
The Montauk monster, right?
Oh, yeah.
I've heard of that, but remind me.
So almost like a... Oh, go ahead, Danielle.
It's a corpse that was discovered on a Long Island beach, and they could not identify what it was. And before they could investigate, it disappeared. And so theories are it was a drowned raccoon or a dog or something like that was bloated. But then there were, descriptions of part of its physiology that didn't fit those examples, even with the condition of the drowning and absorbing of the water and all of that. So there's all kinds of conspiracy theories around what it actually was and, why it disappeared.
And the answer is obvious. It's hanging out with Bigfoot and an honest politician playing poker in Area 51.
It's funny that you should say that because James Chambers wrote about the Montauk monster and Bigfoot on Long Island.
Fantastic.
This one is Devil in the Green, Systema Paradoxa number 5, if anybody's curious.
What were you going to say, Brian?
I was inviting them to tell us about the book.
Yes, please.
So Jim's book, it's very interesting because he does these very intricate establishing the world and all of that. And so it's kind of like an X-Files with a little bit more of the surreal, the drawing on the Men in Black and different experiments that are said to have taken place at locations on Long Island, incorporating that. And the transdimensional nature of the possible creature. And then I don't want to give too much away.
Well, no, the idea is to get people to buy the book, not to tell them everything so that
he has a very interesting approach. He's done a few of the Systema Paradoxa books, and he's going to be doing a few more. And so he established a framework where he has received the notes and the evidence of these creatures from a reporter who is, avoiding the men in black and the government and all of that wants to silence them, gives everything to Jim. And so he presents the evidence and lets people decide for themselves what the case is. And so you have a very interesting setup that you can follow from book to book, even though the stories themselves are individual. And just the way his mind works is amazing. He's actually a Bram Stoker winner for Kolchak,
nice.
the Night Stalker, the The Forgotten Works of Edgar Allan Poe, I believe is what it's called. And so he has that understanding of that type of writing, pulpish occult detective and all of that, and it really shows in these stories because he honors the tales but also puts a really cool spin on it on his own that goes from story to story, even though he's dealing with different cryptids.
That's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
So I think the next obvious question I've been wanting to ask, although we keep getting into interesting other discussions, so I'm not complaining, is there any cryptid that you guys really like but can't quite figure out a way to use yet?
The problem is there are a lot of, part of what the agreement we have with Cryptid Crate is that we will look for obscure cryptids to bring in content that can't really be gotten anywhere else, so that they can explore new content and original fun things that will introduce their subscribers to something new in the cryptid realm. And sometimes when you are looking at them, it's very difficult to find ones that are obscure, but still have enough of a history of sightings and such that there's something to go on there.
Yeah.
I write the cryptid entries in the back, and I try to go through and find as many different references to that cryptid and different accounts. A lot of them are just a rehash of the same cryptid wiki entry that we originally found to pursue that cryptid. But often you will find newspaper accounts and reports that go into more detail and sometimes varying detail. And that's what I love to find, because I draw from all of those sources and just compile all of it into one entry to encapsulate everyone's experience. And sometimes it's difficult to do that. There are certainly certain ones that we would have liked to do, especially some of the international cryptids. But again, without enough content, we have to, look elsewhere.
Fair enough.
I think there's one in the squonk and wonk family.
The
snipe
Squidgety
that should be
D or
done.
something like that. There was two, and it was actually included in the book when we did the wonk book. There was another one that was similar, but slightly different, and we included both of them in one entry because frankly there wasn't enough on either one to have a full entry. But it's kind of neat because Jason did two pieces of artwork, and one actually fits that alternate version of the cryptid, and it's one of the things that's going into the cryptid compendium as kind of a bonus. There's a couple things that we didn't actually feature in books. We were meant to, but like one of them is we did bat squatch, and the description that the author used was vastly different than the reference that Jason had found, so they didn't look like at all. And they don't have to be exact, but we try to, make it obvious that it's still the same cryptid, even if the author has fun with the details. And so we have a cryptid that we couldn't actually produce anything for yet because it didn't match. And there are plans to do that one. It's a Casamont, which is actually the name was used for A Wrinkle in Time for the planet, the evil planet, the brain. And but it's actually a South American cryptid as well that is similar to Bat Squatch, but visually different. So we've included a few little extras in the compendium that will come into play later, but haven't yet.
Got it. So, okay, so of the cryptids that you have, none of you've experienced, are they you either think do or really wish did exist?
I don't know. Most of them are supposed to be scary and stuff, so you kind of don't want them to be real.
Pretty much.
I don't know about that.
It
Although,
depends.
yeah.
Some of them are actually kind of cool.
Well, the one is real. The sewer blob was. You see the video from the sewer camera.
Yeah,
and it's those worms that kind of group together and live in.
That's one
in the
theory.
Sewers,
yeah. I definitely do not want to encounter the Jobafofi.
Yeah,
What?
no.
It's the giant Congo spider. It's the size of a pony.
Oh boy, yeah.
Thank you, no.
That's all
Spiders don't bother me, but I don't really think I want to run into a spider the size of a pony either.
No.
I've seen that movie. It doesn't end well.
No, it doesn't.
I think one of the cool ones that we did was Dingbat. It was a secondary cryptid in the Bat Squatch volume. Patrick Thomas wrote Cryptid Fight Club, which was very, very amusing and very chaotic and had cryptids everywhere. But the primary one was Bat Squatch, and his sidekick was Dingbat, which is akin to the jackalope, but it is an owl with antlers. And and he's just the I don't know if it is the cryptid itself or just Patrick's interpretation of him, but he was so amusing and adorable.
Knowing Pat, could go either way.
Exactly. And Chessie, which was from Chessie at Bay by John L. French. That one was actually a special volume. It wasn't used for the Cryptid Crate because I was guest of honor at ChessieCon in Maryland just after the pandemic. And so we did this volume special for them because their mascot was Chessie.
Hey, wait, we're all going to be in Maryland next week. Why don't we go looking for Chessie?
I'm gonna be a little busy.
The convention ends eventually.
This is a big convention for me, which is ironic because it's probably one of the smallest ones we do, but it does big. So it's a lot of fun. Very well put on, and
I'm really looking forward to it.
Well attended.
Good.
There's a couple of cutesy cryptids that might fit the answer to your question. One of them, there's a flying ray, like a manta ray, in Ohio. And it's supposed to fly through the sky. Yeah. And it's funny too, because people look at our merchandise and stuff, and they see what looks like a manta ray, and they think, okay, it's a manta ray. And you say, even when you say flying ray, yeah, they jump through jump in the air and stuff. But no, this is in Ohio, so you're sort of like, okay, that's different. And then there's something like I think it's called an atmospheric jelly. It's a jellyfish, another a sky jellyfish. And things like
that would be cool, especially if it has the bioluminescence.
I don't know if it does or not, but it's just you hear these things and you're like, okay, that'd be cool to see. But
see, I think I fought flying manta rays in D&D. But thankfully, because I've been stung by them enough times, I'd rather not see one. I've never seen a flying jellyfish.
Yeah. Just don't let it be a man of war.
Yeah.
Oh God, no.
Maybe that's what H.G. Wells was thinking.
Never know. Oh Lord. I will say for myself, I've always thought in the problems of probabilities, I think the cryptids that are most likely to still be out there, and I'm not discounting any of them by any means because we know so little about our planet, but it's the stuff that you find in like the ocean and the deep sea.
Oh,
Because we know
definitely.
so little about the ocean
Yeah.
that it really wouldn't surprise me if we found out there are in fact giant serpents down there somewhere. Case in point, people don't think I'm only 48. My high school biology teacher was absolutely certain there was no such thing as giant squid.
Yeah.
And they only prove it conclusively. I want to say early 2000s. Then everybody finally had to go, okay, yeah, you're right. They exist. Brian, you got any questions?
I'm just, I guess, more curious about the publishing company and the cryptid box and how it all works and stuff. And you guys want to expand on that a little bit?
Well, like Danielle said, our box basically almost always it's a shirt, but it could be another item of clothing. There's always a book or sometimes a DVD or something. A couple of smaller products, usually enamel pins, stickers. We had one with, that was a cooking theme. So it had an apron instead of a shirt. And it had coffee, hot sauce, because we have our own brand hot sauce too. We have Crypto Crate. Yeah, we have 3 different flavors of hot sauce under our own brand. But yeah, so it had a bottle of hot sauce. It had coffee, and I also had a dry spice rub for meat. I think it had a swizzle stick in it for drinks. Yeah, and then we go to, Danielle was like, because we're always looking for more books, to put in there. So we went to Danielle and do you have any? And at first she said no, and then almost immediately she comes back, but we can do that. We don't have them just flying around, but we can do that for you. So yeah, so her authors, she's got a whole stable of authors that all jumped at the opportunity, yeah, they are very entertaining books, and like I said, we do them every quarter, but every month we have the crate in which there will be some sort of book. Last month I think it was, we had one written by a MMA fighter.
Really?
Him and his twin brother wrote a cryptid zoology book. So that was kind of fun, and he's actually running around with our logo on his trunks right now. And
fantastic.
One of our fans actually coined the phrase that I'm using, as seen on Punching Man's butt. so I can't say that expression enough. But it's nice to have a consistent source of the books rather than having to hunt them down. It does save us a little bit of effort trying to find books to put in there if they're written specifically for us by Danielle's crew there.
It's been a lot of fun working on this. Just the whole concept that we came up with was different and unusual from what you usually find in cryptid fiction. And because we were drawing on the more unusual cryptids, it was something new for everyone. The authors have been having an absolute blast with it. I started out with authors that I already worked with, but every time I go to a convention now, or even just online, I have new ones coming up. Hey, I got this idea. I'd like to do one of these. So, there's a lot of potential out there, and there's no end of cryptids, so
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we actually asked Danielle to do the more obscure ones. It's because, yeah, if you're going to find a book, it's going to be Bigfoot. It's going to be Nessie. It's going to be Chessie. It's going to be the New Jersey Devil. So, I mean, it's harder to find stuff about the obscure cryptids. So that helps us out a lot too, that Danielle's actually specifically targeting those guys.
Yeah.
Which is good, because I have nothing against Chessie or Nessie or Bigfoot, but it's like there's so many other fun concepts out there.
Yeah.
There's so many other weird things people swear they see.
And
Cryptid Crate, we still do the main guys, the Bigfoots and stuff, but you don't want every crate to have the big guys in it.
Yeah.
You want something that's going to keep people's interest.
No, I love all this. I mean, I'm the spirit guy, demonology, and that kind of thing, but there's so much overlap.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at so many, like Loop Guru being cursed, which falls squarely in my bailiwick, or how in at least some of the Algonquin legends, Wendigo is actually a spirit that possesses people, not just, oh, you go out and eat human flesh and now you're a Wendigo.
Yeah. And there are variations too. And I think part of what makes it so popular for everyone is that people want to hear about things that are familiar or applicable to them.
Oh, yeah.
And the big cryptids are primarily regional. And so the local ones don't get a lot of airtime. And a lot of our authors draw on ones that are local to them. But a few of them have been, like, we have one from Ireland, we had the one from the Congo, we have one from Mongolia. So
is the Congo Mokele Membe?
Sorry?
Is the Congo one Mokele Membe?
No, it was the Jobafofi.
Ah.
The spider.
It's the other thing that I find interesting, if a little unsettling, is a lot of the very dinosaur-like ones have been completely embraced by the young Earth creationism community, because it's like, see, it's a dinosaur that's still alive today, so therefore the Earth is not millions of years old. It's like, one, the evidence is not great. Two, even if we found sharks have been here since before the dinosaurs. So finding a dinosaur, finding a T-Rex, which would be awesome. I totally want to find a T-Rex, figure out how to tame it, and use it as my new car. Because I mean, think about it, you never gonna have trouble with traffic again, because who's gonna get in the way of a T-Rex going down the highway?
No. We've all seen Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I know. That's the idea.
I have a question, maybe a little off topic, but I was wondering how many Cryptid Crate packages there have been, and how many Systema Paradoxica books there are total so far.
Well, we have, they're not all released yet, but we have 28 books through the end of this year. And not all of them were featured in Cryptid Crates. There's, I think, about 6 or 7 that we did outside of it, either because the author didn't want to wait, because there is a delay between production if it's going to be in a crate, or it was something that we were asked not to focus on. Like, Cryptid Crate is conscious of cultural appropriation and some things that could potentially be seen as irreverent when there's a spiritual component to the cryptid.
Oh, yeah.
So those weren't featured in Cryptid Crates, but some of our authors still wanted to do them. So, but 28 have been produced, and we have another 4 in the works.
Fantastic.
So you're not done yet, Jason.
No. I wasn't looking for that. I just was curious how many so far.
Yeah, we've done a lot. It doesn't seem like it. It doesn't seem like it's been 5 years, but
And the
They're
compendium
nice.
is
They're nice
the
and
first
easy
25,
to-
right?
Hmm?
The compendium is a collection of the first 25, right?
It's no, not 25, 24.
24.
Plus there are well, some of the books had more than one cryptid in them. And if they were central enough to the plot, we did entries for both of them. So we have about 32 cryptids in the book, but
Okay.
Fantastic.
24 books.
I was just thinking, it's like we had you and John French on way back at the beginning of this.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
When the
5
Moon
years.
Shines, which was an excellent book. I mean, you know me, I'm the first to promote all of the book authors I've had who've graced my channel, but I really enjoyed that book.
Yeah. He's done 3 of them, you know. All with Sin. And the Snallygasters and the Dwayos and the Chessie. The nice thing about this series is we've done them intentionally novella style.
Mhm.
So they're short, quick reads.
Hmm.
They'd make good episodes to anybody out there listening.
And more than happy to have more of your authors on, as always. So I always have fun. Everyone you've brought me, I've had fun interviewing. So it's like, yeah. And gentlemen, that goes for you as well. If you've been on my show once, you're officially invited back.
Thank
Where
you.
do you get your authors?
I network at conventions a lot. I've been doing conventions for 21 years.
Hmm.
I've done as many as 16 in a year. There's people that have done a lot more than that. CJ Henderson used to be way more weekends than he was home. But you know, I connect at conventions and being on panels with people, just talking just in our downtime, stuff like that. I am also known for doing anthologies.
Yes.
And so for that, you need a lot of different authors and you get to know who is pleasant to work with and who isn't. So I collect a bunch of people that and they trust me because of my record of producing work and the quality of the work and the fun projects and the fact that they resolve quickly and that I am prompt with things like royalty statements and royalty payments and stuff like that.
Always a plus.
So my circle just grows and grows.
Which is somewhat similar for the show. It's like a large part of why I do conventions is I love doing conventions.
Yeah.
But it's also a chance to network and meet new people. I mean, I first met CJ because I wandered by his table at a convention. Like, that was back when I was doing radio, not just YouTube. It was like, he'd be a great guest. So I sat
Yeah,
to talk to him.
Yeah, I know.
Met under the same circumstances.
Danielle, I wonder if you could find a cryptid story that CJ wrote that we could collect into to one of the Systema Paradoxica books. Get permission.
Well,
I could certainly talk to Ren, but I don't think any of the ones he did, they were either too long or not long enough.
Oh, that's right. The guidelines for these.
Yeah, and he
didn't. A couple that he did.
He also didn't tend to name the creatures that he wrote about. He left it to your imagination what that was, unless of course it was Lovecraftian.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that occurs to me, and I think he name drops a couple of them. There's the one book, and I'm blanking on the name of it, but it's somebody leaves a massive grant to a university on the condition that its cryptozoology and its parapsychology departments work together. So it's collections from the heads of both. It's stories from the heads of both, then eventually the two of them working together.
I don't remember the specific one, but he had several universes that he wrote in that he created. And that I think was along the steampunk version.
I think it was
had
fairly
a
real worldish. The one I'm
no,
thinking of.
I don't know.
Or maybe
I
thinking
don't
of two
remember.
different books that CJ wrote, given how many he wrote.
He was very, very prolific. He would have been right at home in this series.
Oh no, I was just thinking that. It's like, oh good lord, this is perfect, would be ideal for him.
I think he's up there cursing me for not doing this sooner. We formed our company, unfortunately, 3 months after he passed. We officially became publishers.
Oh,
But he
sad.
would have been all over all of this if he'd still been around.
But yeah, there's that book, and there's the other one he did. Oh dang it, I'm trying to think of it. But no, he did cryptids about. Oh, that's the other one that occurred to me. Though it's a fairly short story. There's a story in the collection he did with John French that includes Nessie.
Oh, okay.
The Challenge of Supernatural.
Yeah. Oh, Challenges of the Unknown.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Which is a book I'm very fond of.
Yeah. CJ's the reason we're here. 100%. I without his mentorship and his support and his nudges, I don't know if I would still be in publishing, let alone a publisher. But he left a great legacy, even if people, there's certain people that will remember his name, but even those that don't are impacted by his presence in this world.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And he had his influence, indirect or not, on the show for me, I would say.
Yeah.
Well, if nothing else, he helped introduce me to Patrick Thomas. And when I first started, he was one of the first, like, the go-to, I want to get this guy guests.
Yeah.
Which then spent off into John first, who I also knew from CJ, and then now I'm going to feel a little sad just because of missing friends.
Yeah.
Well, Danielle, you have the collection of the tribute to CJ.
Yeah.
Yep, I have that. But
Yeah.
A physical copy somewhere, and I've got a digital copy.
Well, there is the Kickstarter going on, right?
There is.
Yeah. Oh yes, we should speak about that. And for those of you listening, when I go and type up the description and everything else, there will be a link in the description of this video to the Kickstarter. So take a moment to plug that.
So we have 17 days left in the Systema Paradoxica cryptid compendium. And as mentioned, this is all of the cryptids that we featured in the novella series, and just those. It's not meant to be every cryptid there ever was. It's primarily to highlight Jason's wonderful artwork, to be able to get those color versions out there where people can appreciate them, and to collect all those entries. Some of the feedback that we've gotten from the books from the Cryptid Crate subscribers is that they really loved those entries in the back of the book. So we wanted to bring them all into one place. There's some bonus content that weren't in the crates or in the books. And if we get $193 more, there will be a extra spoiler cryptid in the limited edition hardcover that we're producing, which was one of our earlier stretch goals. The hardcovers will only be available through the Kickstarter. They're not going to release commercially. So this is the time to get it, and you'll get bonus content and a sneak peek of what's coming up in 2026. And
I have something to say about that obviously in your favor. Because, ladies and gentlemen, let me just add that when we advertised An Assembly of Monsters Kickstarter, I did back that. Not only did I get everything I was promised, as you would expect, It was very prompt. I got my physical copy much faster than I would have expected.
I have learned, I've actually, I would say at this point, I've had 50 successful Kickstarter campaigns between books and candy and such. And so I learned my lessons well. My very first Kickstarter, it was just supposed to be a digital book, and I figured this is going to be no problem. It's just going to be a novella. So I ran the campaign before I actually wrote the book. And it took me 5 years to finish it because that was right when CJ had passed and a lot of things were in turmoil. And I wasn't being very creative at that time. So people stuck with me. There's people that have backed every single campaign that I've done since that first one, despite the fact that it took me 5 years to deliver it. So now, at the very least, I have to have the content in hand before I even start the campaign, if not completely done. So the books for this campaign, for the Cryptid Compendium, I have literally just uploaded them to the printer because they're done. Jason gave me the 2 pieces of artwork I was missing, and boom, it's out. Because the quicker I can fulfill the campaign, it shows good faith with my backers, because I do have a lot of repeat backers and I want to keep them happy. One of the things actually kind of like that Kickstarter has done this, they've given creators a way to make special hidden pledges that you can give a direct link to specific people for those pledges.
I did not know about that. That's very cool.
Yeah, this is the first campaign that I've run that has had that feature, but I actually created several of the basic packages that we offered with a bonus book in it, specifically for the repeat backers. So I only circulated that link for the campaigns that I had done in the past. And several people have taken advantage of it. Others have backed the campaign anyway and not used those links, but I'll reach out to them and make sure they get that bonus anyway. But you do things like that because they show loyalty to you, and they continually come back. You want to make sure you give them a good product promptly, provide everything you said you were going to provide, and make special concessions if they ask, because they're with you every time.
No, that makes sense. And again, folks, if you've got some money, I can vouch for Danielle and her work. She does good books, and she as she said, she's good to her promises. If that website says you're going to get something, if you do something, you're going to get it.
And there are always bonuses. We always have bonus content for different landmark goals that we set, and for going beyond our target goal. So right now,
all the extra books I got last time.
This one doesn't have as much extra content because it's a different type of campaign,
which is fair.
But there's a few extra books in there and some extra fiction coming up if we hit it. We have digital postcards of the art from Jason that he has graciously put in. And we do have production goals that we slide in there, like the hardcover version and the bonus spoiler cryptid if we hit that level, which we're really close. Help us get there.
Again, link will be in the description. I'll have it up 5-10 minutes after this ends, I promise. Because I need to. Always good to remember those things. We have actually gone a little bit over the hour, so I'm probably going to be wrapping it up. I do want to take a moment, since Brian, myself, and Danielle, you'll be there. Mike, you were saying you were going to try.
I'm going to try to be there. I was there last year for the first time, so I'm going to try to get down there. I'm in the middle of packing and shipping this month's cryptid crate, so I'm
Fair
not
enough.
sure how much I'm going to have done by the end of the week. So
Mhm.
it just depends.
Systema Paradoxica will be there though.
Yep.
Yes.
Remember, so if you're confused about what we're all talking about, this Saturday and Sunday, coming Saturday and Sunday, the 29th and 30th, at least 3 of us are going to be at Telltale Steampunk Festival in Maryland, in Baltimore, North Baltimore County, Maryland, Pikesville, I want to say.
Pikesville, yes.
I will put a link to that in the description as well. I'm going to be speaking. Brian's going to be speaking. Many other guests that have been on the show, like Taker Stoker, Jonathan French, the fine folks from the An Assembly of Monster videos that we did. Many of them are all going to be there.
Yeah. And we should mention that as well. Because
Yes.
I seem to collect special agreements. For the Telltale Steampunk Festival, it's a literary steampunk festival, which is a little different from the usual tone that those conventions take. And so they have a literary scavenger hunt that runs during the convention. And each year they have a specific author that is their theme. This year it's Bram Stoker versus Mary Shelley, which is why Dacre is going to be there, which is nice. But when the convention started, they wanted authors to just write a paragraph that could be used for their literary scavenger hunt. And I said, listen, no excerpts. Have them write stories, and we will put together a book, and you will have an anthology tied to your literary scavenger hunt. So that series is 3 books long. It is the Forgotten Lore Anthology series. The first one is based on Edgar Allan Poe. The second one is based on Arthur Conan Doyle. And this third one, which will be launching at the convention with a launch party and everything, is based on Bram Stoker and Mary Shelley. And at the end of the convention, they'll reveal who next year's author is, which I
Nice.
think
One
everyone's
second.
really going to enjoy. But definitely come and join us at the Steampunk Convention. It's a lot of fun, and we'll be having a party.
But speaking of, because it happens to be sitting right here, this would be the book in question, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
This is my copy. But yeah,
So
also
between them, Bram Stoker and Mary Shelley wrote about every single classic monster that we are familiar with from Hollywood. So we were able to pull all of that into the book. Each author had one primary monster, and they could have a secondary monster if they wanted. Just because I didn't want them fighting over which one they got. So there were some really interesting takes, a lot of fun. Some of it drew on the reference, the actual references. Some of them paid homage to the references, but did their own thing. But all of them monstrously good tales.
I haven't finished it yet. I need too much to read, too little time. I'm sure all of you understand that.
Oh yeah.
But the stories I have read are phenomenal.
Thank you. I am so proud of my authors. Most of the authors actually attend the convention, so that's really nice. When we have a launch party, most of the authors are there. And so people can get all those autographs. And they all do a really awesome job. Whatever the theme is, they all rise to the challenge.
Well, those are some good themes to work with.
Yeah. There's such diversity there. You don't think about it. Like Arthur Conan Doyle did a hell of a lot more than just Sherlock Holmes. So for the second book, we only let one author write Sherlock Holmes. Everyone else had to find some other way to work in the theme.
Not hard, because he did write so much else. Being in the paranormal community, it's like, yeah, I know the first time I got introduced to Doyle was Holmes, but there is so much else out there to work with.
Keith DeCandido was very excited to be able to write a Professor Challenger story. And the funny thing is at Telltale Steampunk, somebody actually came dressed as the character.
Ah, that's awesome.
So we got a picture of them with Keith with the book.
And connections for that matter, Doyle did know Bram Stoker.
Oh, cool.
Something not shocking given similar circles, but
you just don't think about it though. You don't think of them. You think of them in isolation. Most of the classic authors.
But it's like, no, there's lots of interconnected points.
Yeah. Like C.J. Henderson.
Oh, yeah. But okay, we're now 9:15, so I meant to get going earlier than this.
We just don't know when to shut up.
Yeah.
Get a bunch of writers together.
Yeah. But I think this is going to wrap it up for tonight. Our guests first, you have any final thoughts you'd like to share?
I would like to say thank you, because this is a very enjoyable way to spend my evening and to get the word out there. But it's always fun coming on this show, and I'm really looking forward to, everything coming up.
Thank you, and it's always such a pleasure to have you. It's like you reached out to me. It's like, hey, Kevin, can we do this? I'm like, yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Kevin. It's been fun again. I was here with John before, John French, and Danielle. Tell everybody hello at the
I will.
Convention this weekend.
Are you going to be at the convention?
No.
I won't be. No, I'm. Yeah.
Hey, it
There's
happens.
a lot going on.
Yeah.
We just got. I was hit with the Hurricane Helene, and I've been doing a lot of housework. So. Yeah.
So support the campaign so he can get money from the book.
Yes.
I'm excited to see the book. That's going to be nice to see everything in color all collected.
Oh yeah, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, I can't promise I'll be able to do the Kickstarter because things have been a little tight lately, but I'll definitely be buying the book.
Awesome. Sadly, I won't have it next weekend.
Well, that'd be really impressively fast. I wasn't expecting. Like, oh, and here's the name of the book that we just talked about. Like, wait, what?
They're fast, but not that fast.
Mike, do you have anything you want to add?
Oh, just thank you for having me on. This is my first time. I enjoyed it, and hopefully people who enjoy cryptids will enjoy the book, and they can go to cryptocrate.com and subscribe, or even do a one-time purchase of stuff. We have mystery crates of past merchandise where we just shove a couple items in there for you so you get an idea of what's in the crate, and we do have past crates including the Systema Paradoxica quarterlies. So if you missed one or you want to check them out, we can send you whatever specific month you missed.
Okay, actually, do me a favor.
Yeah.
Can you put a link to where people can find the crate in the chat? And I'll be happy to put that in the description as well.
I'll do that.
If I can figure out how to do that,
no,
it's just cryptocrate.com. So yeah, if somebody could do that.
Cryptocrate.com is easy. We'll make sure to get it in there.
There you go.
Yep. And Danielle's got it covered. So that'll be in the description as well. I'll be putting that up momentarily, ladies and gentlemen. Check it out. Also a lot of fun. We've talked about the crate before. I'm thinking, Mike, Mike and Jason, we should have you both on again in the future.
I'd be happy with that.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Just think, we've never done a whole lot of artists. And it's like, that's an untapped potential.
Yeah.
But
I'll have to ask around and see who else is out there.
If it's remotely paranormal, it fits into the show. We're liberal with how we define that. We've done ninja, even though it's not the most paranormal topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have a problem with communicating with words. We have to use pictures, so we'll try though.
I use words more mostly because I can't draw. I'm trying to teach myself, but I'm not very good yet. But I can string words together good, honest. The English good.
Yeah.
But okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for tonight. This is Kevin Mears, demonologist and paranormal encyclopedia, saying good night and God bless. Brian?
Brian McKinley saying, keep your fangs sharp.
And have a good night, everybody. I hope to see you at Telltale next week. And remember, support the book. The
Cryptid Compendium.
the
Systema
Kickstarter
Paradoxica
specifically is
Cryptid
the word I was
Compendium.
looking for. But yes, support that. Support it. It's a lot of fun. Should be worth it. It's definitely. I know this is up the alley of my listeners. Okay, now how do I shake this?
Thank you.
Thank you.